Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's sit down. I am at the edge of my seat, and normally we've got the guest that is in the studio with us. Today we are in the studio with our guest. The young man that we've got on the couch is a royal descendant of the African kingdom of Ovimbundu from Angola. He is the EFC lightweight and bantamweight champion of the world, Demarte Pena. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Number one, let's kick it off there. You are the most dangerous man that we've had on the couch.
Oh, wow.
But you are also the biggest gentleman that we've had on the couch. I expected someone totally different to walk in here and sit next to me. I just want to be your friend. You're such a nice guy. Like, how is that possible?
I think it's important to keep a balance in life, you know. Every single day you're training, you're fighting, you're wrestling, you're getting hits a lot. And I think if you carry that through in your normal day-to-day life, you're just a messed up person. I think that balance of doing what you need to do as a profession and then coming outside being a normal person is important.
Beautiful. Thank you. So, if at all possible, I could bring the 17-year-old version of you. Mm-hmm. He walks in, sits on the couch, and we have a conversation with that young man. What is going on through your mind at 17? Like, who are you at 17? What's your priorities? Are you doing sports? Are you thinking about a career in MMA? Are you thinking about being an accountant? What's going on? Have you got it all figured out at 17?
Definitely not. I think at 17 I was grade 11 or grade 12. I think when you're in that age, you know, your priorities are definitely not as focused as they should be. You're obviously thinking what are your next steps into your career in terms of your tertiary education. That time in high school I used to play a lot of soccer. I didn't think I was going to be a professional soccer player. I was okay-ish. I don't think I was good enough at that stage, but I wanted to do, I think going out, I wanted to study business in the university, more focus on that. At that stage, I was already training already. I did a little bit of Kung Fu in my earlier days in high school.
Okay.
And then I met actually a friend of mine who's also a professional fighter. We met in primary school. He's the one who introduced me into mixed martial arts. So I knew about fighting, but I didn't think it was a possible career move, you know. You don't, at that stage, EFC just started, I think in 2009, but I never thought, you know what, I'm gonna become a professional fighter because it just didn't make sense, you know. There was few people that were making actually quite a living out of that sport. So, you know, it's something that I've always done as a youngster, trained, but it wasn't something that I thought I was gonna be that's an actual fighter.
Beautiful. So how does that journey happen? I mean, you finish high school. Is it joining a gym, hanging out with your buddy? How does that transition happen to, you know, I'm having fun, this is awesome, like wrestling, grappling? We had an off-camera discussion, and, you know, your base from a child has always been wrestling. You said to us, you know, wrestling is the best base for fighters because of the stability and of the flexibility. So how does, you know, you finishing high school and falling in love with the sport get you in an octagon with screaming fans from all over the world with millions of YouTube views? How does that journey transpire?
You know, funny enough, I think things just played out perfectly because when I joined, when I was studying here at UP, actually here in Pretoria, there was a gym opposite the main entrance at the Greek Club. I don't know if you know the
exactly where it is. I know exactly where it is. I was there a couple of weeks ago with my neighbor. Yes.
So there used to be a gym they called Undisputed. There was a Greek trainer there. His name Dimitris Bailanis. He used to teach Muay Thai at that gym. And then I was looking for a place to train because I was living in Linwood side, and obviously
it's close by.
It's close by. So then I would go to university, then go back home. Then I thought, you know what, I love training. I want to find a place where I can train. And then when I found that place, I was like, it was ideal. Then I was training there probably like 3 times a week. And then funny enough, there were competitions happening for stand-up and then MMA. And then I had a little bit of a base of grappling and judo and wrestling in my younger years in high school. And then I told the coach, you know what, we know a little bit of ground, and then you teaching here Muay Thai. So what we could do, we could start teaching people more MMA based. And then myself and my friend Marino, we are like the coaches of mixed martial arts, and he was the coach of the stand-up. And then through that, we started competing as amateurs. And then, funny enough, one day it was Tuesday. So he comes in and says, you know what, there's an opportunity to compete at EFC. Like, I've seen EFC before, but I never watched the whole event. I didn't follow it properly. Then he says, but they were going to pay you. I looked at him, I'm like,
pay me?
So you're going to pay me for something that I'm doing for free? Like, I was competing as an amateur. Then I thought to myself, no, you're kidding me. He's like, but the problem is that the fight is on a Thursday. So they told me on a Tuesday, went in as the day before the fight, so it was going to be the Wednesday.
So, the Thursday, like 2 days from the day that you found out. Wow.
That was EFC 7, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow. And you took the fight?
I took the fight. I thought, you know what, you're going to pay me to fight something that I do every day.
Why not?
Why not? I think the money was the motivator, because I thought, you know what, I do this for free in any case. And then back then I was working around a lot lighter. I was working around at 63 kgs. And
okay.
Then the cutoff weight was 66, so I didn't have to cut weight as well, so that was a bonus. And then, and then funny enough, that gym, we didn't have a cage there. We didn't have mats. We used to grapple on the grass.
On the grass.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It wasn't like a proper MMA gym and the sort. So following day came through, we went to the weigh-ins, we weighed in. I was so shocked how professional EFC was. I think that's the thing that they've done really well since the beginning. They've been very professional. They were like almost like a mini UFC in the sense. That was always their plan, to copy exactly what UFC was doing.
Yes.
Very well run. Honestly, I didn't know what to expect when the fight was going to happen. That same day after weigh-in, here there was another gym here by Hatfield where we went to Paul Kitzman. I don't know if you know. He used to be a boxer.
Yes.
We went
a legend.
Gym. Yeah, he was a lot of people feared him in the streets.
Yes. he was a legend in the streets and in the ring.
Somebody don't mess around.
I think he was a bigger legend in the streets.
Yeah, no. Paul Kitzman was a scary guy. I don't know about what's happening now, but yeah. So I went to his gym. They had a cage there. First time I've ever been inside a cage.
What was that emotion?
This was the day before my professional fight.
Wow. So we used to grapple on the grass and have fun, and now, a day before your first professional fight, you walk into a cage.
First time, because we used to compete at Warrior Sports in Centurion, and we always fought in a ring. Even the MMA, either we fought in a mat or in a ring. We never fought in a cage. So that was the first time I ever been inside a cage. Day before my first professional fight.
Unreal.
I'm like, okay, yeah, this is a bit weird. Because when you do takedown defense off the cage, it's different off a ring. Cause
I can imagine.
Your hands it's easier to grab around the legs if someone is against the cage. So there's a lot of technicalities involved. So the plan was this. You probably not as fit as you should be to compete in a professional scene. You're probably going to be very, very nervous. So the plan is to try and go in there and finish this fight as fast as possible.
Yes.
Otherwise, if it goes into the second or third round, you're probably going to be finished.
You'll be gassed out.
Luckily, I fought a guy, his name is Mwande Mazitambe. Very good kickboxer. He's been fighting for a very long time, but he had no ground game. So walking out to the cage, I was like, but I wasn't that scared, to be honest. I wasn't as scared as I should have been looking back, knowing what it takes to actually compete. I'm walking in there, it was like a blur. Honest, I can't even remember. Probably it was like a dream. And then I'm walking out, and then there's this EFC ring girls there. They're looking nice, and I'm like, okay, focus. You have to fight. You have to look at the girls. You're like, ah. I'm walking there. They're putting Vaseline on you.
So that's why the girls are there. It's just to wake you up. Like,
yeah, no, they wake you up or they take you more to a dream. So I'm like, because I couldn't even see the people's face that I grew up with. Obviously, some of my relatives went to watch the fight. I'm walking out there just like a blur. Get in there, they put Vaseline on you and everything. Then you go inside and you're like, and the lights are so bright. You feel like you're in a dream. That's why a lot of guys that you see that they do very well in the gym. They're so good in training. But when you're in there, it's like a completely different story altogether. You feel like you're in this other alternate, universe. So I'm in there. I'm like, okay, stick to the game plan. Boom, the fight starts. I just throw a jab. As the minute I had a chance, took him down, mounted him, ground and pound, gave his back, and then the fight finished in 52 seconds.
52 seconds.
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness, yeah.
Exactly,
Wow.
yeah. So it's very difficult to fight, in all honest truth. And then I was very, very lucky to be able to get that win, and so fast, not being prepared as I was.
And 2 days, I mean, you took the fight 2 days before the time. You love training, you love the sport, and you're getting paid.
Yeah.
So why not? I wanna jump into the technicality of weight, because you mentioned something very important, and I think for the majority of fans, including me, we don't understand you said off camera, it's harder to cut the weight than it is to actually go in and fight. If we can talk about that, you're walking around weight versus your weight at weigh-in, and what you actually weigh a day after when it's fight time, if you don't mind.
So the weights work in like a range.
Yes.
So let's say bantamweight that I compete is between 57 to 61 or so.
Okay.
So then most guys obviously want to be at the top of that division. So you
Yes.
can weigh in less than 60, 61 and just more than 57, then you're bantamweight. So what guys are doing normally, they're walking around 9 to 10 kgs, sometimes more heavier than the top.
Wow.
So let's say now my weight is about 70, 71, and then I fight at 61. So how will I do it is, so 2 weeks or so before my fight, I'll diet down strict. I'll cut carbs, drink a little bit more water, cut a little bit on the sugar, cut a little bit on the salt, sometimes no sugar, no salt. And then I'll probably lose to 71 to 65 or so, 66.
In 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, okay.
That's how I do it. Some guys do it differently, but I like to do it that way so that I gain a lot more. Then I would 2 days, let's say tomorrow's weigh-in. So today, my last fight, I was weighing 67 1 day before weigh-in.
And you have to be under 61.
Yes, so I cut
In
weight
one
that
day.
night. Yes, I cut
Okay,
weight that night.
For all the diet people, this is watch this, focus now.
So I was 67 that day. I woke up 67. Then I went to run, and then I probably went to run and then sauna that day. Then I was about 64 when I went to bed.
How long in the sauna?
Maybe in and out, 10 minutes in, 10 minutes out. You can go like an hour or so. But
Okay.
you lose quite a lot in the sauna. And then that night I ran as well. And then I went to bed. I don't remember what it was, but I woke up very early. Then what we do hot baths as well. So you put in hot water, just hot enough that it won't burn you, but still very hot. So you go in the hot water for like
You
submerge
actually
yourself.
feel it.
Yes. So then you sweat a lot more. Maybe you do that for 10 minutes. You come out, you put in a lot of towels, and you keep sweating a lot more.
Wow.
So then eventually I made weight. I was 61.2.
Okay, so you've got a little bit of a
Yes,
deviation.
there's like a leeway. And then
Okay.
that morning, I weighed in and everything was fine. That night, I was already back to 71.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
10 kilograms
You put it back on.
in one day. So at the time, this is a personal question.
Yes.
Do you even know where you are at the time when you're at 61 kilograms, or is it all fuzzy? Is it all like a dream to you? Because obviously you're so depleted.
You're absolutely depleted. I think the thing that is most irritating, I don't know if other fighters can relate to that, when you start dieting strictly, things that you never wanted to eat, you want to eat.
Yeah.
You know, like
those cravings.
Yeah, the cravings are like, I think you understand how a woman feels when they are pregnant. You
Yes.
know, like they want to eat random things that they don't even like. After you weigh in and then you start rehydrating, some things you don't even want to eat them anymore. That's like you're like, I've craved this thing so much. Now after I actually made weights and then I'm rehydrating now, I don't want to eat them anymore. I think that's the biggest disappointment of it all. And then obviously you're thinking about the fight the following day. You can't just eat anything. I've made a mistake a few times in my fights where I didn't hydrate properly and then it affected the way I fought, and then you feel sluggish or you feel bloated. So it's a very fine line, especially after you've weighed in and then you now rehydrate. You can't eat too fast, you can't drink too fast.
So it's a process.
It's a process and you have to be very diligent.
And obviously you've got a team of people that are constantly monitoring
need
you,
a
watching you.
dietitian, yeah,
You've got
absolutely.
a dietitian,
Yeah.
and what you drink, how much you drink of it, what you eat.
With the time as well, you have to drink certain amount of fluids in a certain amount of time. So it's very specific. Because you do see some guys that you train really well, everything goes well, but if you mess up your weight, then you're not going to perform properly.
Not going to perform properly.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, wow, it's fascinating. Just the control of your weight, to be able to cut, make weight, and then arrive 10 kilograms heavier. And I suppose, like you said, why the first fight was so technical is because you're obviously a lot smaller than the person that you're fighting as a professional, because he went and cut the weight. So if you can remember, how much heavier was he than you at the day of the event?
I think it was probably maybe 5 to 7 kgs heavier than me.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Makes a big difference.
A huge difference.
1 kg makes a big difference.
Yes.
Imagine like 5. Luckily, like I said, he wasn't that good on the ground. I think technically I was a lot better than him. And in all honest truth, making weight is very difficult. And then the problem is that as an athlete and as a fighter, you're only judged based on your performance on that night. But there's so many things involved leading up to a fight where you're training, you might have been injured, and it's very rare to go into a fight where you don't have niggles or injuries, because it's contact sport.
Yes.
Getting hits a lot, and maybe your weight cut didn't go that well. You know, there's so many things involved. When you get in there, people don't care. They just want to see you perform, and then whatever you do there, that's what you judge upon. So that's the difficulty, I think, in the sport, is that there's so many factors involved where you need proper training, proper management of everything else surrounding, and then you still have to think about winning the fight. As a fighter, you don't get paid per month. Let's say you don't have enough sponsors helping you throughout your camp. So there's so many things that go into training that people don't really care. They just want to see you go in there and do your best, but it takes a lot to be able to perform at that kind of level.
It's so technical. It's
Yeah.
so technical. And yeah, I've got the biggest respect from us. And you're right, because we arrived there, and we're excited. We're excited to see our guy, our young man, and get up there and do his best. But I wasn't with you at your 4 a.m. run. I wasn't with you during the 10 kilogram cut. I mean, that's intense. Well, I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, it's very difficult. And then when you get to the crowd, people is like, punch him in the face. You know,
That's me. That was
punch
me.
him in the face. You're like, I'm trying.
He's trying to do the
Yeah,
same.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think in that sport specifically, also MMA is still so young.
Yes.
And then it's not like soccer where it's been through the ages, or like rugby is a lot better now, where you're getting paid a month. It's a proper team structure. It's more of an individual sport.
MMA is an individual
For
sport.
sure,
Yeah,
you might
it
be
is.
part of a team, but at the end of the day, it's an individual sport. It's
You
not
have to
as
handle your business on your own.
like soccer. You have like massive sponsors coming on board, MTN, Vodacom, and backing the whole team.
Yes.
But you're basically doing it as an individual. You have to find your own sponsors. The agents or managers aren't as competent, I would believe, as like overseas. So I think coming from Africa as well, it's still very difficult to make it on overseas stage. I think maybe the next level of MMA fighters will do a lot better than what we're doing when it comes to competing overseas.
I think you guys are doing a phenomenal job. And,
We're trying, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you are laying the foundation for future fighters. And I mean, you're still a very young guy. You're 33 years old.
Yes.
You've still got a lot of good fights, and we're all excited to see them.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you don't mind, like growing up, what's your story? Because we see you right here. And who were you as a younger version of you? 5 years old, 6 years old.
I have to say I was very, very naughty.
Naughty.
Very, very naughty. Very, very naughty. Like the scars on my forehead. This one, I think I was playing with my brother. I was fighting with him. He pushed me off the stairs, and I fell, hit the curb, bleeding everywhere. There was another time we were playing with my friends. We were daring each other who can break the glass bottle with their forehead.
Oh wow!
They were playing. Then I had the bottle, and broke my foot. I was a little bit crazy, I think, when I was a bit younger.
Competitive.
Yeah, very competitive. Always wanted to win. Funny, I don't know if you follow the history of Angola. Originally from Angola, my grandfather was Jonas Savimbi. He was the rebel leader at that stage who was fighting against the current government, MPLA. So we grew up in the time of war back in Angola. We were always relocating.
So you grew up in Angola?
Yes.
Okay.
In a younger age, my father was a soldier. So there was like a lot of fighting back then, relocating. Obviously, after the Portuguese had left Angola after our independence in 1975. Then there was war amongst the current parties that see who's going to take power. And I think, yeah, that's how it's been. There was a lot of war going on, and then growing up in that environment. I don't feel like it affected me in such a way that I'm like messed up in the head, but that's just the life we knew, and then that's what we thought normal was. And then I came to South Africa 99. Yeah, after all that war happening, going on, a lot of our relatives died in the war. A lot of them had to like walk from Angola to Zambia, running away from the war. So it's quite a hard history there back home. And then we're just blessed to be here because we come from so far. You know, faced so many things, lost so many people, and then to be here. And then I always think to myself, what I do, a lot of people think is difficult, but I sign a contract to fight in a certain day, in a certain place, certain time. You know, some fighters do end up dying, obviously. Sometimes in boxing or whatever, there's a lot of damage. But it's a sport where the death rate is not high at all. It's dangerous, but not as dangerous. But we have people that are facing life and death situation like we had in the war, where they didn't have a choice to be there. So I feel like I'm privileged to be able to do this because it's easier in a sense. You know, you choose to do this. You're not forced to do it. So I feel that that's the beauty of this sport, where you choose to put yourself in that position to compete and then show that you are better than that person. After the fight is done, it's over. You know, it's done with. You know, so that's, I think, the beauty of this specific type of war, of combat sport. You know.
And I want to bring a different perspective to that as well. A couple of days ago, we shot a video about what the immigrant mentality can teach, you know, local people. And I'm a fellow immigrant. I grew up in Eastern Europe. In Bulgaria.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I went to school in Bulgaria, came to South Africa, couldn't speak English or Afrikaans, didn't understand the culture, didn't understand anything. And the fact that you just said, I get to choose when, with who, and you know, I get to prepare in an environment that is not as dangerous as the world that I knew growing up, because
there was no choice.
There was no choice, and anything could happen at any time, and things did happen.
Yeah,
and you are blessed, and I'm blessed to be alive in the land of milk and honey, which South Africa is. It's a beautiful country. I always say, of late, you know, I'm born in Bulgaria, made in South Africa.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel the same. I'm born in Angola,
made in South Africa, and it's that it's that immigrant mentality to say that, you know, I ran away from hell. I ran away from war, where loved ones lost their lives, and hopefully this, you know, this type of conversation inspires not only other immigrant people, but inspires local people to say, listen, you've got it good here.
Yeah.
Take advantage, like grab your opportunities and go hard.
And then, you know, honest truth is that obviously South Africa has its own problems.
Yes.
But every time I went back home, let's say early into my career, I'd go home and then I see the difficulties that people face there, especially those who also want to compete as fighters. Not enough gyms. Transport is difficult, so much traffic. The way you live, you don't have like your basic sanitation is like very low. You start living very low. It's like, then when you come to South Africa, you see the problems that you have here. You realize, look, you don't really have a lot of problems in comparison, right?
Yes.
And then you can go to another country, obviously, let's say like European country with better condition, then you see there's certain levels. There's levels to levels, but if you always go back a level, you realize that, you know what, this is where I am, this is what I need to work with, and then that's what you work with. Because sometimes, you know, a lot of South Africans, I don't know if it's that mentality still going on here, where they want to go to Australia, go to New Zealand, everyone wants to run away from here. But it's not as bad as what people assume it is South Africa. Obviously, now we have the problem with load shedding. Hopefully, that will go off now.
Yeah, many interviews as
you know,
affected, yeah.
So, you know, but those problems, you think, so let's say, I know a lot of people from many different places in Africa. Let's say in Congo, the electricity will go off without notice for 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then imagine that, like, you don't know when the electricity is going to come back, you know. 2-3 weeks off, at least, yeah, you have the privilege of, you know, from this time to this time, the electricity is going to go off. You know, okay, at least you can prepare. I'm not saying that's a good thing as such, the electricity goes off, but it's still better. But obviously, we want South Africa to be better because this way we live, this way our country is, in a sense. But there's worse of situation that we can be in. There's a lot of opportunities in South Africa that we can take advantage of.
Spoken like a true South African, resilient. It's like we've got our problems, but at least it's only 2 hours, because that's what we do. That's you know, we've got such a diverse community and culture that you know, we're gonna take it, but at least there's a bright side. It's coming back on in 2 hours. And yes, you're right. We've got there's a lot of technical problems in our country that I think, you know, I'm praying every day for a leader that comes up and says, listen, I want an opportunity to fix this, and actually leads the country into change. And I think it's coming. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really do. I want to dive into the mindset of the champion. As you have evolved and you've gained the experience and the confidence, and now you know what to expect. You know the bright lights. You know the girls are going to be there.
Yeah, no, the girls are not an issue.
Not an issue anymore. Okay, great.
Yeah, that was just the first one. You're like, no, you grow past that. Yeah.
You know, as a professional fighter, you get paid to do this. You're a vessel of violence.
Yeah.
And you get your card. You know who you're fighting. How long do you know before the time? It's a couple of months, 2-3 months?
Normally 2 months, yeah.
2 months,
yeah.
so 8 weeks?
7 to 8 weeks, yeah, normally, yes.
So how do you process the fighter? I don't want to dive into too much secretive stuff, but whatever you're comfortable sharing, how do you process the fighter? Are you looking for weaknesses? Are you looking for strengths? Are you looking for strengths versus your weaknesses? How do you prepare for that individual fighter, and then leading up to the fight? And then night before, and then as you're about to walk on, what goes in your mind? Obviously, you know, the better prepared you are, the better result, but how does that process work for you?
I think for me, funny enough, people always ask me, don't you get scared when you fight? Aren't you nervous when you fight? I'm very nervous before I sign for a fight, and then like
before you sign
I sign for a fight. Let's say
really?
They tell me, okay, you're gonna fight this guy. I'm very nervous when that happens. Very nervous. It's obviously because I'm not prepared for that specific individual. I feel that through my training, the preparation, I feel that the more I train, the harder I train, the closer I get to the fight, the more prepared I am, and then I don't feel as nervous. And when I fight, I'm not nervous at all when I compete. So I feel that the more work I put in, the less nervous I get, and then I try to make sure I put in a lot of work so that I don't feel that I'm unprepared for that specific fight. So having said that, I try to before when I started fighting, let's say on my second, third fight, I used to watch my opponents a lot. I used to watch all their fights, regular basis, watch their fights, check what they're good at. But it felt like it was consuming me, and I was forgetting more of what I can do. There was another fight I fought, a guy called Venzel now, he's a wrestler. I thought he's just going to try and take me down and then try and put me on my back. So I trained a lot of wrestling, made sure that I was ready for that fight. The fight starts and he just starts swinging, boxing.
Wow.
He almost finished me in that fight in the first round. A few times, dropped me a few times.
I actually watched that fight
Yeah,
2 nights ago. I'm like,
he was
you know,
so
if a guy
aggressive.
hits me like that, I'll probably be dead twice, not once.
He shocked me. After that fight, I told myself,
That
you know
was
what?
a tough fight.
Very difficult for any, and that guy is I swear, if someone can take a brick and swing it at your head, that's how hard he hits. He hit very, very, very hard.
I've watched 90% of your fights. I've never seen someone hit you and rock you
that guy
like he did.
Yeah.
Because at a stage, it was a ground and pound, and I'm like, oh.
He came in and threw the kitchen sink and everything at me that day. After that fight, I told myself, you know what? I'm going to give myself 2-3 days to watch all my opponent's fights. And then that's it.
Not going back there.
No more. Because then you become too consumed about your opponent and you forget about what you can do. You obviously seen what he's capable of doing and then you work around it. But you have to focus on you. Otherwise, it's going to be too much focus on your opponent. You're not going to think of what you can do. So I've watched my opponent. My next fight now is on the 8th of December.
Yes.
I've watched his fights, and that's it, for a week. And then now I'm like, okay, that's it. Now I got to focus on what I got to do. Otherwise, it's going to consume me too much. And then you forget about what you can do. So, yeah.
And I understand you're nervous before you sign. You've prepared. You've made weight. You wake up the morning, and it's the morning of the fight.
Yeah.
Process that day with me, because I'd be all over the place. But this is what you are trained to do, this is what you love doing, and this is your sport. How does that morning happen for you, you know, in preparation of, I'm going to go out on the stage? Is there something that goes on in your mind that it's on? Or is it a natural process?
I don't think it's natural as such, because most of the time, let's say if you get into a fight, right, it happens like that.
Yes, yes.
It, like you get into an argument and then you fight, right?
Well, I run.
Okay.
50 meters, 50 meters.
that
I'm
too.
a very good runner.
Oh, that too. You can choose to run as well. And then it's very difficult to prepare for a specific time and date and place to say, you know, you're going to get into an altercation with somebody physically. So I feel that it's very unnatural, in all honesty. And the more you do it, the better it does get. So I think it's just you have to have something that you fight for. Is it your family? You want to get a better life, and that should be your focus that gets you into that specific scenario where you willingly go in there and fight someone else, and then people are watching and they're screaming. That's also the I think the weirdest thing is that you go into a fight where people normally, if you get into a fight, right, people are gonna stop the fight because you shouldn't fight.
Correct.
Now you get into a situation where people
punching
are cheering
in the face.
You know, people are like, hit him, you know. I think that meant, and then people are filming it, and then it's such a thing to, like, if you think about it, it's like so weird.
It's awkward.
Very awkward. And then you are in there, you're supposed to compete against someone else that is also well trained and then also can obviously
handle himself.
So it's such a difficult thing to grasp. So I think just holding on to your will and your why, you know, I think that's the most important thing. Why you're doing it for? You want to obviously better your life. You want to show that we're able to do this as a, you know, coming from where we come from as Africans, you know. So I think is a very difficult sport, in all honest truth. And you don't have like a teammate where it's gonna, like, let's say if Ronaldo's not feeling that good, you know, some other guy can carry the team and do well, but it's
you
on
are
you.
the team.
It's on you, and then you have to show up, and then every time you gotta show up. That's why it's so difficult, because sometimes you don't feel good, but you gotta fight. You can be sick that day. You can't just pull out of the fight, you know. So that's the trick, is that be able to still do well when you're not feeling good.
Yeah.
And then so I felt many fights I didn't feel good, and then you have to go in there and still try and show up.
Yeah, perform.
Yeah, it's a trick. It's a trick. Yeah.
If you could take back something with you today, to that first fight that you had, you know, something that you were like, wow, I wish I knew this because it would serve me so much better. Obviously, everything happens for you, not to you, but you know, perhaps one of your millions of fans are watching and saying, okay, I aspire to be a professional MMA fighter. Maybe I can take my journey from 4 years, you know, to the cage and just reduce it to 2 by this hack or this mindset. If you could.
I wish there was a hack.
Hard work is the hack, but perhaps a mental state.
I think sometimes you just have.
There was a hack.
Sometimes you just have to. Sometimes when you think of a fight and a combat, it feels like an eternity. Just the thought of fighting and then getting into that space. But there's a nice saying that goes, "This too shall pass."
Yes.
So, but then you don't go into a fight thinking this too shall pass. You have to embrace that moment, because you cannot go into a fight thinking, yes, it's only 15 minutes or so, or 25 minutes if it's a title fight. You have to say, this too shall pass, but I have to be in it. Because if you're not in it, the other guy's in it is going to beat you for sure. So you have to think, okay, this is not my whole life, right? This doesn't define me. But this moment, I have to own it. You see, because fighting in itself, it shouldn't define you. It's not who you are, it's what you do. But once you're doing it, you have to be all in. I think that's the biggest thing, that balance of, even if you lose a fight, it shouldn't define you as a person, because life goes on.
Yes. And I think that's evergreen, because this too shall pass. Whether you're having a very tough meeting with a colleague, with a manager, with your boss,
yes,
or whether you're having a tough meeting with your spouse,
yes,
this too shall pass. But if you are present and you give it your all during that confrontation or during that sit down, then you will get the desired result.
Yeah, it's not like this shall pass. I'm like, no. Be in it, and then like the fight is not that long, but 1 minute fighting feels like an eternity.
I can imagine.
Especially, I think the worst thing is fighting. I think I was just talking to other teammates of mine is that if you fight someone that doesn't give up,
That's got that.
that's the worst guy. It's not the most technical fighter or the most skilled. No, the guy that doesn't give up and will fight you from the beginning to the end. That's the most dangerous guy. Even like you've been in business for so long. That resilient guy that is gonna keep trying. This fails, keep trying. That guy is the most dangerous guy ever.
Yes.
That grinding mentality of, you know what, I didn't make it today, but tomorrow I'm gonna show up. I didn't make it, but I'm gonna show up until I make it.
Love it.
That's the most dangerous person in the world.
I think that's you.
I try.
That's
Some
you.
days better than others.
No, that's you. Absolutely.
Some days better than others.
Absolutely.
I try to and then I think also I think now more so as people, we're in a place where we want instant gratification, right? And then we want things now. Because of the internet,
TikTok.
you want now, okay? That dopamine thing you want now, you want to watch funny videos, you can just go watch. You want to do this, you can just do that. But your ability, I think, to suffer and endure pain is so important. But it's been forgotten everywhere in the world because people want comfort. You can't hurt everybody's feelings. You can't do this. You have to do, But that ability to endure pain and suffering, that's going to get you through because life is not going to be perfect. There's so many difficult things in life that you're going to face. Not just fighting, obviously emotional, things are not going well financially. There's so many things that are going to go hard in your life. Even if you do have a lot of money, your health, that's one thing you can't really avoid. You can have the best doctors, but you can have cancer and then, So there's many things that in every level, there's a certain pain that you got to be able to endure. Even if it's not a financial pain, which most people have financial pain, but there's other things that can come into your life. But that ability to endure pain and suffering is so vital to as a human being. Because through that too will pass, but you got to be able to get in there, grind it out, and face your pain,
So in studio is my running mate. He's my teammate. Name is Vince, and his father-in-law he's got a doctorate degree in finance, and he's a phenomenal business person. We've had him on the channel, and off camera I asked him, so Uncle Hannes, what's the secret in business? Because he's made a lot of money. He's got a lot of companies. He's done it all, and everything he touches is just it turns into diamonds. Never mind gold.
Yeah.
Uncle Hannes, what is the secret? So he says to me, and to Vince, he says the ability to bear pain. Exactly what you said now, and that is every time you level up, there's a new set of challenges. Just the ceiling of complexity. Taking into our company, the moment we grew past 100 cars a month, I thought, it's going to be 10 to 20% pressure more at 150 because I'm used to the pressure at 100. We've got 70 people working in the company. I've got a grip on things. I'm a good servant. In my opinion, I'm a good servant, but yet I'm driving the people hard to improve and grow. When we went to 150, the moment we jumped over 100 employees, I couldn't handle the company. It was all over the place. Everything was breaking. It was painful.
Yes.
And every single time we've leveled up, it's just more and more pain. You get used to it, and now you can decide. Like
you want to stick to just 100 cars. Or
this is cool. I've got. But if you that competitor, that lion, and the moment you go up, pain is coming. I just know it. It's just coming. And you're right. A lot of young people today don't understand the pain because we competed and got medals even though we came last. So there's a bit of a culture shift, but I'm glad that there's warriors around like you to teach us about pain.
And then it's not like life is getting easier in a sense,
No.
If it were the case where you have to watch what you say, you can offend anybody, which is okay. But at the end of the day, that's not how life is. There's always something that's going to be painful to bear or to face in your own life personally. And then you do get a lot of people that seemingly have a lot of things and then they seem okay, but they're broken inside, they're lonely. So I think that balance needs to be there, for all of us to be able to take pain and then obviously enjoy the times when they're good.
When they're good, I always say, everybody can run a company, everybody can can be a professional fighter if you go out there and just throw punches and they land and you get a technical knockout. But what happens when you get punched? When that guy that is supposed to be wrestling me just hits me so hard it knocks me off. And the ability to bear the pain makes the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. In anything.
In anything.
Yeah, in anything.
Especially in business. A competitor, whoop, steals my best manager. Holy moly, this guy knows everything that I do. Everything. I've taught him everything I know. And the competitor, takes him underneath me and puts him across the street.
You know what's the secret? Someone actually mentioned it this morning, another client of mine. He says, one of his friends does is very successful. So let's say the average salary of an employee is a certain amount. When he hires that person, he will double that salary. He knows that if that person leaves, there's nobody that's ever going to give them that salary anyway, so he will never leave.
That's a very technical, it's a very technical statement, and you have to do that. But at certain tiers.
Yeah, of course, no, it can't be throughout, because otherwise it has to be like strategic level.
The company is not profitable.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's so that the people that listen to your employees will be like, yes, we want more money.
But the technical guys do get more.
Yeah,
the technical guys have to get more.
Absolutely. Otherwise, that kind of knowledge is going to be transferred out to your competitors.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the danger is, now, do I hold back and not share that knowledge with the next person? And if the decision is yes, the company doesn't grow. You have to share and more, because now that he knows, some of my stuff, that's version 1.7. He's going to compete at version 1.7. I'm already at 1.9. Let's go. That should be the mentality. Pain, pain, pain until you obviously go through it.
Yes, I agree with you.
Now, biggest failure in your career that you can pinpoint and say, oh, this was a now, this wasn't lekker.
I think mostly is as young fighters, we don't manage our, let's say, finances properly, I think. Because when you are young and you're strong and you feel like you're invincible, you don't think about your future as such. And only until later, let's say now in this point of my career, where you think, okay, I have to make sure that I'm not going out so much, I'm trying to be more diligent. I think that's so, not just for myself, most fighters or athletes, even other sports people that earn a lot more than I do. You check a lot of, let's say, basketball players, and they're earning millions, but then 5 years' time, they're bankrupt. So I feel that as sports people, we're so dedicated into the sport and getting better that we forget other side of our lives, not just financially, family-wise. You don't have that meaningful friendships anymore because you're so focused on your sport, and then that's all you're doing. So I think that's probably the biggest failure, is not being able to manage my other side of my life, being so focused, but that might be what it takes to become at the top. So it's that balance that I think probably I failed the most, honestly.
Yeah.
Is that not being able to manage the other side of my life, being so focused with my
I want to agree with you as well, because I don't think you reach a level that you do, anything close to a level that
without
you
being
reach
so
with,
obsessive,
without being so obsessed with each and every detail. You need to train. I mean, you walking around probably, I'm guessing, 4%, 5% body fat, if that high.
Maybe, I don't know.
If that high.
Yeah.
You have to absolutely love what you do.
Yeah, you have to be obsessed.
You have to be obsessed to, even attempt to reach a level that you have.
And there's so many, I know a lot of fighters don't do it, like, they go out. A lot of fighters do, they go out, they drink a lot, and then they still do well sometimes. But for me, I'm very, strict, with my diets. I barely go out, So there's so many sacrifices you do have to make. But that's just, that challenge, that pain that you gotta face. Because I know I won't fight for the rest of my life, maybe 5 more years in the sport. So I gotta make sure that I do my best.
Look, if I'm facing you, and I've had the drinking during my life, and you haven't, I'm gonna know about it.
That little bit of an edge can help you.
100%. I'm gonna know about it. Within the first 52, 57 seconds, I'm gonna.
The fight is done by then.
Yeah, it's done. It's like, holy! I wish I didn't go out and have a few drinks with my friends, because the gentleman standing on top of me is someone that didn't, and now I'm paying the price for it,
Yeah,
because
some
you
guys can
paid the price
pull it
earlier.
off, yeah, so it's amazing. Some guys can pull it off, you know. Some guys, they going out a weekend before, and then they still do well. But I think there's always, you have that get out of jail card, you know. All of us have.
Yeah.
You know, some of us, we like when we drive, never put on a seatbelt, or you're always speeding, but you're like, but they'll never catch me, you know. That's your get out of jail card. One day you look down, it's not there anymore.
It's not there anymore.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, so I think you can play that card, you know, eventually.
And then it runs out.
Yeah, yeah.
It takes a village to raise a man, literally. In both our cases, I also grew up in a village.
Oh, is it?
Yes, sir.
Is that so? Oh, wow,
yeah,
okay.
looked after
How's
sheep.
life back home, though, in Bulgaria? Is it, like, rough?
Look, when we came to the country, my father was a manager at a power supply station, and obviously the country had the communist regime, and
Yes,
it was
of course, yeah.
it was busy shifting and changing, and there was a lot of instability. And in a situation like that, it's only about who you know. You know,
Okay,
your ability to produce.
Yes.
That's why I love South Africa, because it's a free enterprise country. It's a capitalistic country. You know, me and you don't decide, the market decides. If you produce a good service, or you can produce a good product, and the market loves the product,
Yeah,
you are
they're gonna
successful.
yes, of course, yeah.
In a communism, you know, the market doesn't have free decision. The government decides what works and what doesn't. So my dad said, no, this is not for me. There's no future in this for me and my family. Obviously, ran away, came here. The bit that I remember, very cold, -degrees.
Oh, is it? It's very cold.
Very
yeah.
cold in the
But
winter.
that's why the guys from that side are tough, eh?
very
The
tough.
Europeans are tough. Even you can see in the fighting, eh? They don't give up easy, eh?
Yeah.
They're used to that grind, you know? Like, even like, let's say if you look at the Russians, they're some of the toughest fighters out there.
Really.
Come from the tough
Look at
background.
Habib, and I mean that,
Yeah.
that guy is just. I saw a video yesterday when he was a small boy
Wrestling
wrestling
a
a
bear.
bear.
Yeah.
I was like, jeez, like
Yeah.
like how do you compete against the oak like that? It's hard.
Yeah.
Connor knows how hard it is.
Exactly. I agree. Yeah.
And otherwise, you know, I was a child, came here, born there, made here.
What age were you?
Eight
Oh,
and a half
same
years
when
old.
I
yeah.
moved. I think South Africa, 7 or 8.
Yeah, 8 years old.
Yeah, I think going back to your question, definitely first my mom. She was such a good woman. I mean, since was because she passed away.
I'm so sorry.
No, you know, it's one of those things. I was so close to my mom, and she was such a good woman. I think the best example I've seen out of any woman. Very caring. She wanted the best for all her kids. And then I was so dependent on her emotionally that when she died, I felt like, you know, my world just, you know. When she died, I spent 2 years every single day for 2 years that I can remember. I cried.
Wow, that's tough.
That's
How old were you?
When my mom died. So my birthday is on the 23rd of August. She died 5 days before my birthday. Wow. Since then, I think I was turning 14, if I'm not mistaken.
Young
I don't really
boy.
celebrate my birthday anymore because, you know, it was just at that time where you know, me and my mom were very close. She allowed me to do things, obviously, in boundaries, and then always gave me the space to learn and be a better man. But yeah, losing my mom, after I lost my mom, I just thought, man. So funny thing, as a child, my dad died when I think when I was 8. I was still young. So I told myself, you know what, my dad died now. So because life is fair, as a youngster, I told myself, life is fair. So my mom is probably going to die when she's like 90-something. Then my mom died, and I was like, man, life is not fair, man. I got to just do for myself and then expect anything. To be honest, for me, like, my outlook sometimes in life, like, I expect anything. And it's okay, you know? Like, anything, someone can get a call now, something happened that's bad or whatever, just like, okay, that's life. You got to deal with it, you got to move on.
And this too shall pass.
It has to, otherwise you cannot stay in that state like I was for 2 years crying for my mom. She was never going to come back. So I feel like any difficult times that I face, I'm like, for me, I'm really good at suffering, in a sense.
You're a stoic.
I try to be stoic. Funny enough, I try to be.
You are a stoic.
I try to be, but it's the hardest thing to be in this world. Is the stoic. To be able to handle that, it happens, but that's how life is. What is the good in this?
Yes.
It's hard, to be honest, very, very hard, but I try to live like that. I feel that it makes your life easier in a sense, because we are here, but I mean, what is the most guaranteed thing is all of us to die.
That's the only guarantee we have.
In Texas. Yeah, the government's going to be like, yeah. So I think, that after she died, I think it just changed me so much as a man to just accept things. And then sometimes we want to change things so much to how we want it, but certain things you can't change. And then what you can't change shouldn't define the way you feel.
You can't control it.
Like, let's say COVID, so many difficult things happened because of COVID. We were stuck at home. Most of us had to take our savings to be able to survive. Yeah. So many people lost their jobs. And then so many people were depressed. And then a lot of people took their own lives. But COVID was there. There's certain decisions that are going to be made where you got to stay at home. You got to stay at home.
Yes.
Things got to close. You got to close. What do you do then? Are you going to cry? You're going to, So you have to just accept the things that you cannot change. And push on and then live life like that. Otherwise, unless you're like those top rich families that make the decision in the world, then you can decide. But for us, normal human beings, it's not going to happen for us,
Accept it and move over.
Yeah, accept the things you cannot change.
Yeah. What are two more people that influenced your life? So mom emotionally gave you the freedom to try, the freedom to fail, and the courage to try again.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, honestly, I have to go also my mom's elder sister. So after my mom had died, obviously my dad was already gone. She took care of us. There was a stage she was taking care of over 25 people.
Wow.
Here in South Africa and back home.
Really?
So she was paying for school fees for us. We were staying here with her kids.
Wow.
And then paying also school fees for the people back home, because a lot of our relatives and brothers and sisters were coming back from the war, because the war ended in 2002. So a lot of them, they had been refugees in other places, then they were coming back now to Angola. So she was taking care of them. She is a wonderful woman, very selfless. And then you always feel like sometimes when you're being taken care of your aunt, that they'll care for you, they'll care for their kids more than you, but she wasn't like that.
Wow.
She took care of us the same way. And then a lot of people, they wouldn't care. Let's say even if it's your brother's kids, they wouldn't be like, okay, now I'm going to take you in and take care of you. Some people, they're just like, my problem, that happens a lot. So I feel that because of her, I'm here where I am. I was able to get an education and then be able to be in this position, take care of myself. I think I owe a lot to her. She's still around. So I'm very grateful that she was there and was able to take care of myself, my sister, and my brother. And then we are all now independent, doing our own thing. So
beautiful. That's a hero.
She's an amazing woman.
That's an angel sent straight from God to make a difference.
A lot of people would just be like, hey, do your own thing, and I got my own kids to take care of. So very grateful for what she's done for all of us,
Beautiful. And if you didn't have a fight coming up, in what is it now, 6 weeks?
Yes,
6
roughly,
weeks, 6-7 weeks.
Yes.
So, we go out, we win, and we just have a couple of weeks to ourselves.
Yeah.
And if you had a day where there wasn't training, I don't know if that ever happens, but what do you like doing? I know. I can see you like ultra lean, you hard.
Yeah.
But what do you like doing? Do you have a cheat day? Are you hanging out watching Netflix, eating popcorn, or is it just your off days just being focused, being researched, training, still running, still doing push-ups?
So I try to train every day, regardless if I'm fighting.
7 days.
Every day I train. So normally, let's say I train, 4 or 5 times a day, right? Monday, let's say
4 or 5 times a day.
Yes.
Wow. How does that work? What time is your first session? What time do you wake up?
I wake up 4:30.
4:30.
So I'm doing session at 5. Let's say now recently I was in Thailand. I was supposed to fight in September. My opponent pulled out. There, obviously, I'm just there for training. I don't have my family or any other distractions. I was doing 7-8 sessions a day.
Training sessions a day.
Because that's all that's what I was there for. That was
my
mission.
How long is a session?
1.5 hours.
1.5 hours. Wow.
Sometimes 1 hour, 1.5 hours. I would literally train, and then I was there by Tiger Muay Thai in Phuket. Train, quickly shower there, eat something like a quick snack. 30 minutes later or 1 hour later, there's another session. Train like that. I was so ready for my opponent that pulled out. He had a hand injury. Same guy I'm fighting now in December.
Okay.
So I think the universe gave him the way out. Now he wants to come back and take this beating. So.
That's okay.
So like, this guy, yeah, you didn't take your stance. They told you, don't go there. But now he's like, okay, he's coming back, so he's going to get a nice one for him for making me wait that long.
Good.
And I spend all that time there, sacrifice so much, and then I come back and I'm like, it was 7 days before the fight, he pulled out. I was so upset, man. I was like, you sacrifice all this time, to be there, make sure that you're ready for this fight. So now we got something special for him. There's extra motivation, obviously, to fight the guy that pulled out, So yeah, there's so much, that goes on. Yeah, so much.
If you were to say certain landmines in the sport or in your career, landmines meaning, stuff that hurts you, that perhaps, how I always position the question is, if you can give us the GPS coordinates of the landmines and say, you know what, Bobby, you and the viewers, this is a landmine that if you step on it, oh man, it's Aina. Perhaps is it diet, you're a very strict, disciplined person, but what have you experienced in your career where you're like, okay, be on the lookout for this because this causes damage here. Be on the lookout for this.
Ooh. I think realistically, as guys training in South Africa, right, the biggest problem is the ability to do what we need to do is not really there. Meaning, most guys, you have to have a job. You have to have a job so that you are able to train. But because you have a job, you can't train the right way to be able to get to the top.
Got you.
That's honestly, I think that's the biggest problem. That's why I think, let's say, if you have a better background, let's say where you have parents that can support your career, where you're able to, whilst you're in the grind, training, someone can support you, is the best thing possible. Because you do get a lot of kids where they don't have anything, man. Yeah. We have a few guys that stay in the gym, that are training there, that Temba actually is able to, Temba's my partner there in the gym, to help them with food and accommodation to be able to train and be able to get to the top. If you don't have an environment like that, it's very difficult to make it because where you're going to find, first of all, gloves, let's say gloves are like 800 bucks, 1,200 or so.
For a set of gloves.
Boxing gloves. Then you need MMA gloves. You need shin pads, you need a mouth guard, you need this, and then you need proper nutrition, and then you got to go to the doctor, and you got to... So that's why I think also we, coming from this side of the world where we're developing, it's not underdeveloped anymore, it's developing countries, or the third world, not third world anymore. Yeah. When we see, let's say, soccer, you like soccer?
A lot.
Let's say soccer, when we watch our local teams, or let's say Bafana play against the European teams, we shouldn't be too angry at Bafana.
Agree.
Because those kids there, they're going to soccer school from 4 years old.
Agree.
They have proper structures in place. They're not going home hungry. Our guys here, the top players, they grew up in the location. A lot of them, they didn't have the proper structures. They don't know like technicalities of the game, where tactic. These kids are from 4, then they're playing all that under 4 year, under 8. They get to under 16. The experience level is so high.
Yes.
When you get to that level, you see Bafana losing. They're like, oh, how come Bafana losing all the time? You can't buy that.
You can't.
The only thing here that South Africa is very good at is rugby, because growing up from young, every kid is playing rugby. They know the game. They understand in primary school, high school, that level. Even swimming. Every other house has a swimming pool here,
yes.
That culture is, swimming, rugby. It gets to that level where you're not so far behind. That's why South Africa is able to do so well in the specific space. But yeah, we don't have the right coaches, the right environment, and then that right, that environment to be able to succeed. So
and on the soccer, I've spoken to, as I walked into the interview, we had a meeting with Mark Fish, and,
yes.
and hopefully we're going to do things together, at local schools, at school level, high school level. But you're right, in a European country, if you are in a soccer school, you're not only being developed in terms of your technical skill and understanding and reading a game, but you are developed mentally to be prepared for that financial success.
Yeah,
You know, our local guys went home hungry, got the contract at Sundowns, and the first thing they buy is a GTI.
Yeah.
Because, and then, you know, people are upset. Don't be upset. Be upset with the people that signed him up, that didn't give him proper guidance to, listen, you're going to come into a lot of money. The first thing that you should do is you should speak to somebody that understands a lot of money, not to your friend. You know, the conversation shouldn't be, is it white or red?
Yeah.
You know, is it the white GTI or red GTI? The conversation should be, if we fix this investment and live just a little bit better than we are, because you have to reward yourself. This is where we could be in X amount of years. And the European countries don't even pay their stars until they make it.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, until they sign that big contract for Barcelona, whatever, that's when the money comes. But they've already been groomed mentally to be able to handle that. And you're right. You know, Bafana losing to Spain, for example, don't be angry with Bafana.
No.
Be angry in the ecosystem that doesn't provide the opportunity that they have.
Yeah, it's not grooming that right space, you know. Even I've had a few clients come in the gym. One other guy sent his kid for like a camp in Spain. I think that whole camp was going to cost maybe 200-something thousand rand.
Wow.
Who has that kind of money?
Nobody.
To spend for your child.
For a camp.
Even in karting as well. I have another guy that used to be in our team. He used to coach karting. One set of tires, 10,000, 15,000, and per week you have to replace that tire. Going to a course to do this is this, you know, like it's so expensive. It comes to a point that some sports are so expensive that for you to be an elite at that level, you have to be in that space. That's why a lot of Brazilian guys want to go live in America, because the space then, the environment is more convenient for you to flourish as a fighter. That's why a lot of guys go train in America. That's just a fact.
It's a fact.
Recovery, the right doctors. Let's say now a lot of the guys, professional guys in the UFC, they break their knee. They are finished.
Gone.
Where you're going to go to a public hospital. You're not going to get an op straight away. You're going to get an op maybe a few months' time. Then where you going to pay to go and get recovery?
Physio. All that type
Where is
of
that going to
stuff.
come from? And then when a European comes and fights us and then they beat us, they're like, oh, we're not good. But where are we developing, you know? Those are the kind of things that in the foundation that needs to change. Proper foundation, guys that are, you know, proper technique in terms of your jiu-jitsu, your wrestling, your boxing and everything. Look at boxing in South Africa. Like, we are so good. Now it's just...
You're right.
We
haven't produced like for a longest time.
Yeah.
We haven't. And we had some great fighters.
Absolutely.
Man.
I mean,
Wow.
boxing has been in South Africa is one of our, like, you know...
Madiba was a boxer.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, imagine.
Exactly. So I think, yeah, there's certain things that in terms of the foundation needs to change, proper foundation. And obviously just finances, to be honest. We need proper structures in place. Sponsors coming on board and supporting the sport. A lot of people, at least now, it's that stigma of cage fighting, and it's going down. You know, people understand that it is an actual sport, proper athletes. And then more help is coming in, and more guys are doing well. It's nice to see guys doing well overseas.
Yeah. I mean, we had Drikas,
Drikas doing very well.
Yeah, very well. We've got you, and a couple of other guys. Very exciting.
Yeah, they're doing very well. So it's amazing. It's amazing for the sport.
Best advice that you've ever received. That when it hit you, were like, wow, okay, that makes sense. I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna apply it right now.
I think probably that no one owes you anything.
Wow.
And you gotta everything for yourself.
True stoic.
No, for sure, no one owes you anything. And then
that's true. No
and
entitlement.
Self-pity is probably the worst thing ever. Why me? Why me? You know? You gotta push that out. Because at the end of the day, nobody really owes you anything, you know. You gotta make sure that you go out and earn it for yourself.
Yes.
And if you're lucky enough that you have people that can support you, it's a bonus.
Yeah.
Everything else is a bonus. But at the end of the day, you gotta feel like, you know what? No one owes me anything.
I've got control.
The way you feel about yourself, you shouldn't depend on someone else to make you feel good. Because people, I mean, we as ourselves, we can't even trust ourselves, right? Let's say if you drink a lot or you do something that you know you're not supposed to do. You can't even trust yourself not to drink. Imagine now trusting yourself, someone else for the way you feel. Imagine that.
take
Let's say
control of that.
women tend to do that a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't feel good because it isn't you. But at the end of the day, you feel good because the way you feel.
Yeah.
How I approach you the best I can as your husband or your boyfriend. That's how I feel you should, like I feel that's right. But at the end of the day, maybe it's not what you're looking for.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't define you like the way you're going to feel. You know, you're grumpy every day because of 1, 2, 3. But at the end of the day, you have to feel good because of how you are as a person, how you feel about yourself. Everything else is a bonus.
Yeah.
And then you have to say, okay, no, I can't take this anymore. I got to go. You have to, you know, respect yourself enough for that.
Yes.
For that.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, it's all about you and how you feel and what you're willing to take.
So very nice feedback. I'm going to give you on exactly that. I get married, and I say to my wife, you know, the most important person in this relationship is me. She says, not me. I said, no.
Oh, you told her that?
100%.
And you're still married?
100%.
You're still married?
100%. So she said,
guy. She's going to get out the door quick.
So she says, okay, give me context. What
Yeah.
do you mean? I say to her, well, here's how I see it. If I focus that I'm happy internally with who I am, I'm pursuing my goals, I'm pursuing my dreams, my aspirations, I'm grinding and I'm putting in the effort into what makes me happy. Internally, I'm happy. That version of me is a good husband.
Absolutely.
If-
I agree.
If I'm trying to please you the whole time, you're gonna leave because you know you can feel that I'm not happy with myself. I just want to please you. No, I will be the best husband that you could ever dream for because I'm happy with who I am,
Absolutely.
and then I'll give it my best.
And
to
if
you.
she's also happy with who she is,
Beautiful.
then we're together. It's not like this energy or this vibe, you know, like. But it's difficult. A lot of things they're very easily said, but harder to implement, especially because.
technical.
And then you find even in relationships when you're dating somebody, let's say, you're just dating, and then once you get married, it changes. I don't know if there's like a switch where now it's mine now. I'm gonna dress as nice as any. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of even men, for us men, I think as men we do this. You try your best when you start dating somebody, right? You want to look good. You open the door. You bring flowers. Once you get her, you're like, oh man, she's mine already. And then she liked the way you treated her, right? And then you stop doing that because she's yours already, you know. And then you also now get a bit chubby. You don't care about your the way you look. And then some women as well, when they with you, they're like, it's already mine. They're not looking as nice as they used to because you're already where else you gonna go? You know, that kind of mentality.
Yes.
And then that's the thing, like we stop trying because it feels like there's comfort already there. I think to be able to remind ourselves why we are in that relationship, to do the things that not necessarily you like to do also, because that sacrifice needs to be made where you're doing something for your partner.
Of course.
You know, but it's difficult to be honest, you know, like
I think having those tough conversations and first of all being brave to have them.
you gotta be very brave because
have
you
to
gotta
be
watch
brave.
your words.
100%. It's so technical. It will bite you in the ass 3 years from
exactly,
today.
yeah.
But I think that I said to my wife, you know, what is here's my goal. So I'm not the guy that goes to work at 8 and comes home at 5 o'clock. It's not me. I'm not going to be that person. I can't give you that life. It's not me. You know, but I'm going to give you these other 5 or 6 things because of the amount of effort I put in. But what is our common goal? So, you know, we recently in January reached a common goal. We bought a house.
Oh, wow, nice. Well done.
We bought a house and for the longest time, I could still buy the house because the business was doing well. But I said to her, the only time we're buying a property is when X happens at work. So now for the, you know, COVID comes, for the year before we bought the property, I've got her as my biggest fan pushing me to hit X because she wants us to buy the house.
Yes, of course, she's supporting your dream, yeah.
So that's a little bit of a technical conversation that I know there's not going to be, you know, sometimes you get home, for the married guys, you'll know what this is. You get home, there's picture, there's no sound.
Yeah. And then when you're like, are you okay? Yes, I'm fine.
Or still no sound, like there's no volume. You know, that look, picture, no sound. So now it gives me the confidence to come home at 10 o'clock and say, listen, babe, we're chasing this dream here. These are the 5 things that I'm processing. This manager left. This person resigned. I've got pressure from a competitor.
Yeah.
The bank's breathing down my neck because I'm not hitting my target. It's 10 o'clock. What do you want me to say to you? You want the house or not? Yes. So why are you home? Haven't you reached it? Go back to work. You know that but you have to have the confidence to have that technical question. And
Very
technical
difficult.
conversations are very difficult, yeah. And it's through practice.
You're a brave man.
I've had many nights of picture, no sound.
You're a brave man. Yeah.
So what is the best advice that you could give, you know, future young fighters and say, this is the message I want you guys to pay attention to?
I think, in all honesty, always try and be the hardest worker that you know.
Hardest worker that you know.
Not just obviously in your space, but if you see like other guys overseas, they're putting in work, how many times they're training, try and double that, quadruple that, you know. Hard work, you know, it's a key. Especially when let's say here, we don't have the best, let's say, jiu-jitsu coaches. We don't have maybe the best wrestling coach in the world or best striking coach. But with your hard work and consistency, that's the only way we can reach that top level when we get to like fighting these guys that have been training their whole lives. Just hard work. Because a lot of them, they don't really train that hard. They train maybe twice a day, 2 hours a day. I mean, 2 or 4 hours a day. So they're not really training that hard, you know.
They've got the luxury of having the best coaches and the best equipment,
Yeah.
but not the best work ethic.
Exactly. So, and I think also sometimes too much knowledge, too much technicality isn't good.
Not.
I'm saying this because there was another story that I read. So this ultra marathon runners, right? They're running like 100-mile, you know, races. You know, 100 miles like times 1.6 kilometers. So this long distance, it takes days.
Huge.
So there's this other farmer where he used to have sheep, and sometimes the sheep go missing for like a few days. So you would walk and run, chase the sheep for like weeks on end before he finds them. Then this ultramarathon was coming to his town. And he thought, you know what, ultramarathon, let me try and join in this thing because I'm bored.
They're here anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So he joins in. You have to actually qualify, but then he just begged the organizer, you know what, let me try and do this race. It's like, have you ever ran a race before? It's like, no, I sometimes chase my sheep for so long. Then
I can't wait for the story.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
So then it joined in. It didn't have the proper running shoes. You think running shoe is a running shoe, but there's actually specific running shoes that you need to use and whatever. So this race starts going, and obviously he's just running his own pace. The other guys obviously running their own pace based on the experience. Then there's certain camps where you have to stop because you gotta rest and then wake up the following day based on your time that you made, and you keep going and so forth. He didn't really know that you're supposed to rest, because sometimes knowledge, right, it puts a ceiling on you, even if it's a glass ceiling that women speak about in the workplace or whatever. There's a certain ceiling that you have because of a specific knowledge. So he didn't know that you're supposed to stop. So he just kept running. For, I don't know, 4 or 5 days, he kept running without stopping. And then he finished the race like, I don't know, 1 day or 2 days before what is expected. Everybody else.
Wow.
He just didn't have a coach that was telling him that this is your limiting belief. That's why I say sometimes knowledge is not good, because it gives you a limiting belief and you don't pass that stage where you can do better. And then he finished the race. This guy never did an ultra race before. He finished maybe a day or two before the professionals.
Beautiful.
You see how it is.
Beautiful.
Even the running a mile under 2 minutes or whatever the time was. For so long, no one could do it. But as soon as the first person did it, more people were doing it because that limiting belief wasn't there anymore.
It's possible.
I think that's the thing where sometimes tell you, no, you cannot train so much for so long. You gotta rest. You have to do this. Those are just limiting beliefs. But you could possibly come here at work 4 in the morning, leave at 10 for every single day for 5 years. But they'll be like, no, that's crazy. You're gonna die, or this is gonna happen. But it's possible.
It's possible.
So I think those limiting beliefs, we gotta like break through some of them.
Mm-hmm. And show up. It's gonna be hard. Show up. Show up and give your best. And like you said, yes, we don't have the best coaches. We don't have the best equipment. But if the other guy's training 2 hours a day, and I'm training 4 hours a day, or maybe 6 hours.
Even if it's just 3 a day.
Yes.
Every other day you're lapping them.
You're lapping them, yes.
Yeah, no, so 1 hour, 1 hour. So every other day you've done more work than they've done.
You've done 14 days worth of work in those 7 days.
Yes.
In a month, you're so far ahead. You can actually show up.
In 1 year, maybe the difference won't be so much. Imagine 5 years like that.
Yes.
So you catch up faster.
Absolutely, absolutely. My friend, may I call you my friend?
Of course, of course.
Okay.
Of
Okay.
course.
So because we are both born somewhere else, made in South Africa, now we have embraced South Africa as our home, and we've got our unique culture, our unique flavors, our unique way of thinking. We are going to finish the rest of this beautiful interview that I'm enjoying so much, eating some hot food.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I hope so. I always get nervous before, so yeah.
So this is like that street fight that's not planned.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Unplanned, yeah.
You did it, but you can't really prepare for the amount of hotness that we're about to have. So let's just get into it.
Let's get into it.
Let's
Awesome.
have fun.
Let's do it. Okay. Yeah, it's very hot.
Has it arrived? Wow.
Yes.
So from past experience, I know the bread helps a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, in
Okay.
case of
Should we
emergency.
try this with hot and hot?